Welcome to the Paulie Z show. This is Mark Weiss, rocking with the camera.
Yo, welcome back to the Paulie Z show. This is episode number 48. We are nearing the big 5-0. And today we have a special guest. It's a good friend of mine, very, very famous and well-renowned rock photographer. And just all-around nice guy and good-looking to boot. So good-looking dude. It's Mark, the Weiss guy. Weiss. Mark, say hello.
Hello, Paulie Z. Thanks for having me. Been waiting to be on this one. I wanted to make the 50 show, but that's okay.
Well, you know.
Be at the party.
Yeah, the 50 show I think is going to be more of like a party thing.
So we'll be there.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. We'll have naked chicks and all that. And you could shoot them.
Not a problem.
We'll talk about that later. You are definitely, you have experience shooting naked chicks, right?
Oh, well, yeah. When I was a youngster, I did a little bit of that.
No, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
So, all right. So basically, just to let people know how we met, you're the photographer for Trans-Siberian Orchestra, right?
That's correct.
And from the beginning?
From the beginning.
Okay. So my brother, for people that don't know, my brother David is the bass player for TSO, and I met him. I met you through him, basically through TSO.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. I've known Paul O'Neill since the early Lieber Krebs days when I used to work for Aerosmith down there, and we both kind of like, you know, he worked in the mailroom down in the office, and I was like the new young photographer, and you know, they used to let me use the office and make phone calls. So that's kind of where we met. And then, you know, the sabotage thing happened with him. And then when he told me about the TSO and he took me on board, and he's just like a loyal guy and the best guy around in business, really, if you ask me.
Paul O'Neill's the real deal, man. Although, why does he just wear the same outfit every day?
Well, he actually has 7 outfits. It's the same.
It's the same outfit.
It's the same outfit, but he's got 7 of them. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
You know what? In a way, it's kind of ingenious because it's just one less thing to worry about.
I'm always worrying. I mean, I couldn't find my black skinny pants that I always wear, and I feel most comfortable. And I always said, I wish I had at least 2 pair of them, but I can't even find them.
Yeah. It takes me, I think today it took me at least 15 minutes just to figure out what I was going to wear. Because I wanted to be comfortable, but I still wanted to be a little rock. So I had to put on some sort of black shirt. You know what I mean? My jeans. But then I was like, do I put on the thin black shirt that's a little bit more tight fit? And I'm not going out. No one sees what I look like. You know, you don't care what I look like.
Well, I was going to actually have the same exact outfit that I was going to wear, and I'm so glad I didn't.
So, yeah, but Paul O'Neill is a great guy. Good dude. You know what's funny? It reminds me of a story with Poison when we were out on tour with them in 2004. Brett wore the same outfit every night. We did 40 shows with them. Every night was the same outfit. And then one day we asked like his people, we said, does he have multiple outfits of that? And he go, no, it's the same one. And after the show, he would change, and they would actually like, air dry it or like, steam it or whatever that night. And he would wear it the next day. Yeah,
that's what that smell was when I did that photo shoot with him that day.
Right, that's probably what it was. It was the same one. I was like, but I was like, you know what? In some way, I wish I would have done that because every night I had to figure out, okay, am I going to wear the brown pants with the stripe? Oh no, I wore that yesterday. Should I wear the one with the patches? And getting dressed is a pain in the ass sometimes.
I hate it.
You hate it?
Yeah.
Well, you're all black today. Is that your thing?
I'm always black.
You're always all black.
Yeah, the reason why I wear black is because I'm always like, when I'm taking pictures, I'm on the ground. I'm like sitting down. I'm rolling around. I mean, you know, and black it gets dirty, but you can't see the dirt.
That's true. There you go. But what about when you're not taking pictures? Like if you were going out, dressed up.
Well,
fancy dinner
I still roll
like
around and go on my knees and, you know.
Well, I dropped the meatball. Let me go get that. Whoa. So, well, that's how we met. And then you actually, you did, I think, the first real, like, official ZO2 photo shoot. I mean, we did some stuff before that, but it was with, like, just friends taking pictures. But you are our first official photographer, and we did the back cover for our first album, Tuesdays and Thursdays, which we got, people love that picture. And that was you. How was it?
Yeah, I was the first unfriend to take your picture.
Right, the first unfriend, and you became
soon
a
to
friend.
be friend. Yeah.
And then how was that for you? Do you remember that experience? Like, did we drive you crazy? Were we annoying? Were we fun to work with? I don't even remember.
I remember you. I looked at the 3 of you as just like puppets. You know, I would just like position you. You do whatever I asked you to do. It's like if I said, you know, I think I don't know if you remember, but I played with you a little bit, and I said move to the left a little bit, and then you'd move to the left, and then your bro would. I'd say, all right, now go to the right, and you were just everyone would just follow my instructions to the T. I was like, all right, I'm gonna keep going with this and just like see what I'd have you turn in circles. If there was a trampoline there, I'd say, all right, jump on the trampoline now, and I could
We're
be.
very good boys, you know.
You were, and
Yeah,
I'm
we
like,
do
oh my
really
god, this is what's going on here.
That's yeah. I remember. Wasn't there something where you were like having like Joey put your hand on Paulie's buttock, and then there was some stuff like that going on.
I think so. I just want to see how far I can go. And I did say to myself, these guys should have a reality show.
And then eventually we did.
You did,
yeah. But we stayed in touch. We became good friends after that. And but you have some incredible. When I say incredible, war stories over the years. I remember, I didn't know much about stuff. I knew some of the stuff you did, but when I saw the portfolio and then I started researching, it's like anything. You hear about a band. And then all of a sudden, like Blues Traveler, as an example, that, when John Popper was on the show, I didn't know anything about them except that one song. But then, I met him, became friendly, so I looked into it, and then I became a Blues Traveler fan. So it was the same with you. When I realized the body of work that you had, I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's the fucking guy that shot all those album covers? And he's like, I'm talking to him like my buddy? I couldn't believe it. You have an amazing catalog.
Well, thank you.
Don't you agree, though? I mean, come on. You could be a little...
No, I have to...
Come on,
I got to look at my portfolio and say, I took that, I did that one, because I don't have a good memory. But, no, I mean, I kind of like, hit myself a few times, every once in a while. And actually, what the biggest kick is when I go into a record store and a CD store now, whatever, and I see albums that I shot 25 years ago, and they're still there.
Yeah.
That's why I love shooting album covers, because they don't go away. Magazine covers come and go every month, but album covers, that was my one stride. When I first started shooting, I wanted to do album covers.
So you went right into it. So that was something that you focused on. It wasn't something like, how sometimes people, they do one thing and then they fall into another thing. Like you wanted to do that.
Well, when I first did is I wanted to be I wanted to meet rock stars.
Okay.
So then
where let's go back. So where are you coming from? From Jersey, born and raised? Or?
Yeah, Jersey, Matawan, New Jersey. I used to live in a little development called Lake Ridge, off Route 34, and I used to. Well, going back, I don't know how far back you want me to go, but I got my first camera when I was 14.
Okay.
I used to mow lawns for $5 a cut, and then. One of the guys in the neighborhood said he used to knock on doors with lawns that were really high. So this guy had a really long, lawn. And I said, do you need your lawn cut? And he said, well, I do it myself. I'm like, well, no, you don't. And I said, if you mow it for the summer, I'll give you this camera. So I'm like, all right. I didn't have no interest in cameras at the time, but I mowed it like maybe 7 times. And at the end, he's like, all right, here you go. It was a Bell and Howell Cannon. I still have it. It's like framed. It's in glass in my office. But that was my beginning. And then I used to just shoot friends and dogs and my brother and riding motorcycles.
Did you get into it like real quick? Like you fell in love with it, or did it take a while before you're like, hey, this is kind of cool?
No, as soon as I got it, I got chemistry. My dad helped me out, getting all the darkroom equipment, and we set up shop in the bathroom, and I was real excited just to take a roll of film and develop it and see what happened. And once I did that, and I saw this magical thing appear.
Yeah.
Then I was hooked.
I remember when I took photography in school, because I went to art school, and it was like one of the requirements. And I wasn't a big photography person. I liked more pencil illustration and stuff. But I remember there is something pretty magical about being in that room, and the paper's white, and then all of a sudden it's not, and it's like there it is. It was amazing.
You smell those chemicals, even though they're awful, but it still does something to you. You get high. I don't know what it is.
It's an incredible process, and I've grown to appreciate photography more as I got older. But back in the day, it's just a picture was a picture.
Right.
I was more about art, and even like covers, artwork. I liked more the drawings. Like I love the Iron Maiden stuff and the Kiss stuff, and then I learned to appreciate like real great photography.
Well, I was more about just being glad to get an image down and a person and just immortalize that person on having an image, so I did that with friends and family, but then I got bored of it, and then a couple of years later I started going to concerts, and that's when I saw some photographers taking pictures. I'm like, wow, that looks cool, and this one guy, Kenny Reff, I remember Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young over in 1974 at the Giants, Roosevelt Stadium in Jersey City. He had a couple girls with him, and he's like walking to the front, and he didn't have a photo pass, but and then I had a talk with him after that, and he told me like how he used to sneak into the concerts and get close and take pictures, and so that was kind of my inspiration. And then I just started following that, and then a lot of shows at the Garden I used to go to. Used to sneak in my cameras.
What were some of the first bands that you shot?
Well, let's see, like Peter Frampton, 75, and Paul McCartney and Wings, and
Really?
these are just crap photos, but I still have images, and then, but when I first started, like, I think like 77 is when I really started like mastering it, and I was like 17 at the time, and like Zeppelin would play for a week. I would sneak in my camera like down my boot and my baggy sweatshirt. Then I put everything together like once I got there, and jumped over the barricade, got real close, separated the seats so that security guards couldn't come down. I'd have a nice little safe haven there. 10 rows back, shot the whole show for Zeppelin. And then the next day, me and my buddies would sell the pictures for $1 a piece, in front of the concerts, on the train. Used to hang out and sell them on the party train from Ottawa. And then I got arrested. I did that for like maybe 6 months, and Kiss was playing for a stint, and I got arrested. I went in the paddy wagon overnight, and then I was like, all right.
For selling the pictures or taking the pictures?
No, for selling them after the show, like
Okay.
bootlegging. Those
yeah,
guys.
Gene probably is like, who's that kid? Put him in jail.
Yeah. Like 4 years later, I thanked him, and he's like, all right, no problem, Mark, because they were in my studio like 4 years later after I got arrested.
Did you tell him the story?
Oh yeah. So yeah.
So were you into those bands when you started shooting? Were you already fans of this kind of music? Like,
yeah, I just want to go. I loved all that. Aerosmith, Ted Nugent, Zeppelin, Kiss. I mean, anyone. Jethro Tull, ELP, all those bands.
You do realize how lucky you are, right? To be born when you were born and to have the.
I know.
Do you understand? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for all these kids right now.
Present company included. I mean it's. Oh.
I was a little jealous of the '60s because I always wanted to be in that Woodstock era, Hendrix and Doors,
which
all
is
that.
a little. Well, then you would have had to been born how much younger?
10 years. I would be
still
really old.
Yeah,
then.
I guess so. Right, 67. 67, you would have been.
I still got I got another good 10 years before I can say I'm really old. But
well, that's good for me. Then that means I got even more time.
Yeah, but I mean, looking back, I think I picked the right era to grow up in and everything, because that's right when rock and roll was. I always felt like the 70s changed the world, but the 80s changed the music business.
Right. Yes, 100%. So you had the best of both, because you had the 70s, which was like the great musicianship and the actual record and the bands, and it was all about that. And then you had the
polish.
Yeah, and the business of it, where it was all excess. Now you got like, it was money flowing all over the place. So
it was great. Yeah, so I was the original MTV photographer. I did all the walk-ons, like Madonna for her first walk-on. I was there. Spinal Tap came in. Everyone thought they were a real band. They came in, and this is where I didn't really know about the overseas market. And here they come in, and everyone in the studio thinks they're a real band. And I'm looking at them like, I want to go overseas, And so I start schmoozing them and saying, yeah, check out this cover from Circus. Maybe we can do some stuff when you're traveling. So later on,
the movie didn't come out at that point.
No,
okay.
No. So later on, I'm like, that's Squiggy or Lenny. I forget which one it was, but so that was kind of funny. But yeah, the MTV, I was all part of that. They had the Van Halen Lost Weekend and the John Cougar Pink Houses. They gave away the house. So I was a photographer for all those. So I did all that stuff.
You see, Alex, I only get grade A guests. I don't settle for less. You know what I mean? That's how I roll. I go for the big guns right there.
Hey.
Let me ask you a question. When did you feel that you weren't just that kid anymore, taking pictures, and now you were like kind of contemporary? You know what I mean? Like where you can say, talk to Gene and just be like, it's cool because I'm in it with him. Does that make sense?
Well, when my first album cover, I did a bunch of covers for Circus because I was like a live photographer up until 1980 and 81. I always wanted to be that guy that had that artist in the studio and had a one-on-one with him and had control over this superstar.
The setup, yeah.
Yeah. So that was my goal from shooting live, and I was quickly accepted and being known as a really, good live photographer, but I wanted to go backstage and hang out and do the whole thing.
Right.
So then I got my first assignment to shoot Ozzy Osbourne in 1981. It was only supposed to be for a small black and white photo under Most Athletic. And he came in with a pink tutu with boxing gloves and his red cowboy boots. And we did some photos. I shot him in color too. Next thing you know, they ran it on the cover. And we got a lot of press out of that and everything. So
And how did that feel? Like, wait, were you nervous to direct him at that point, or were you just like,
I don't know. I
did you
should
have
have
that
been.
confidence?
I guess
You
I
weren't?
should have been, but I must have been. Yeah, I don't. But it was like one of my first photo shoots. I'm shooting Ozzy Osbourne. You
Right.
know?
That's what I'm wondering. Like, what was going through your
Yeah,
brain?
I'm sure I was nervous. I mean, knowing him now.
Like, Mr. Osborne, do you mind?
No,
Do you mind moving your hand a little bit to the left?
I didn't show it, but now, I think he's more nervous when I'm shooting him. Because I just remember, like, after that came out, they got all this press and attention, and the ball started rolling for his solo thing, and so I was part of that. So Sharon and Ozzy took me under their wing and let me do what I wanted, and I just kept coming up with these goofy ideas, and I just remember one time Sharon brought Ozzy over in the mid '80s, and Ozzy's like, "Well, what are we gonna do? What kind of pictures?" I said, don't worry, we got a few things. Meanwhile, he's looking over. He sees a big bunny suit. He sees a big Valentine thing. And the thing is, they were left over from a still life photographer that I shared the studio with. Mm-hmm. So they weren't there for me, but I ended up putting them in the bunny suit and doing all this weird, funny stuff. And they weren't even released yet.
They never were used?
No,
I mean, he's the kind of guy that can do that. Like, when you do your shoots, I'm just out of curiosity, do you have in mind, like you say, okay, Ozzy, I can get away with this, and this, so I'm going to go crazy. But let's say, someone else comes in that's much more, Richie Blackmore comes in. I don't think you would ask Richie Blackmore to wear a bunny suit, right?
No. Richie Blackmore, he'd be lucky if he'd even look at you.
If that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So do you kind of gauge based on like what your expectations of what you can get away with? Or do you just say, this is the best setting for this particular thing? I don't give a shit whether you like it or not. This is what we're going to do. Does that make sense?
Well, with Ozzy, I got away with the pink tutu and the boxing gloves, so that gave me a little carte blanche to do it. And then also Sharon saying, just do whatever you want, And then Sharon was actually leaving, and then Ozzy's like, "Where you going, Sharon?" She goes, "Sharon." Yeah, she did the whole. Yeah, and then she's like, "I'll be back. You're in good hands," and she comes back a few hours later, and meanwhile, she comes back and Ozzy's jumping around the bunny outfit, and Sharon's like, "What is going on here?"
And then from that, did that like buy you? Like, what would you say would be maybe the thing that really bought you the carte blanche to do other stuff? Like, what was your kind of crowning jewel? Like, say, "Oh, I did this cover, or I did this shoot, and that really gave me the exposure or the spotlight to say, okay, now I'm being used for other stuff."
I would say a lot of the covers in Circus helped out, because back in the early '80s, Circus magazine was like the leading rock and roll magazine.
Okay.
So that helped me. But the real kicker was when Dee Snider called me up and said, "We want a rock photographer and to do our next album cover, which was Stay Hungry." Okay. And I said, "Well, I never did an album cover before, but I definitely want to do it." Oh,
that's the first one?
Yes, that was the first one. So I built this set. We had meetings. We talked about it, and so once that came out, and it was such a success.
That's what opened the gates, basically.
Yeah,
like the floodgate.
That did, and then all these other album covers came in. I did Dokken and Cinderella and Poison, and then. The big one, then Slippery When Wet.
Yeah. Now, what was the deal with the Slippery When Wet? I mean, it doesn't seem like, if you think about all the covers you did, and all that like heavy, 80s heavy metal, it's very fantasy oriented, or like bright colors, or very like dramatic. And then you think of Slippery When Wet, and it's just like, it doesn't have any. It's so different. Where did you come up with that?
Well, Slippery When Wet was first a girl. It was the girl.
That's what I would think.
With the boobs. Have you seen that cover?
No.
Oh, you haven't?
No, you haven't?
Yeah, I have it. So
okay, that would make sense. Like, that's the way I would think the go-to would be, something like that.
Well, the whole idea was, they got the idea because they were in Canada and recording the record, and these girls would, go in the shower booths, and there you go. That's it.
Oh, yes, I did see this.
So that was
Look at Alex. you're getting better as a producer. You're getting better.
So
Okay, so that's the
that was
original.
the original cover, and you know, at the time the PMRC was kind of cracking down on things, and you know, so then they decided to come up. They didn't know what to do, so they already printed up like 100,000 copies of these, and he's kissing the picture.
That's my fault. Nice titties though. Jesus. All right, so then they changed it because of that.
Well, yeah. So then, you know, they didn't know what they were gonna do, and you know, so the next thing you know, John comes up to my studio and he says, "I'm coming up. You know, have a black plastic bag and some water and a spray bottle, and you know, let's, you know, I'm like, all right, I didn't know what he's gonna do, so he came up. We hung up the plastic bag. Came up by himself and he just wrote "Slippery When Wet" and then he left. He said, "All right, send that to the record company. That's our album."
Jesus, that's so weird. I mean, it's such a, you know what I mean? It's like such a, black and white difference between that and going from that. I mean, what did you think? Were you like, this is ridiculous, this is fucking bullshit, or you're just like, well, whatever, I don't care.
I mean, I just, I
did what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was gonna be a controversy, and later on when I actually, previously I went with Dee Snider to the PMRC hearings, and that was a big issue. So I knew this it was like part of it. So I knew it was kind of part of some kind of history.
And some of your pictures were even like discussed in those things, right?
Oh yeah, I'd be sitting in there, taking pictures of Dee and Miss Gore and all these other senators' wives, and discussing all these things. And as these pictures are like being like on the screens, like they would say, what sick individual would take a knife and put it through Ziggy's head? Like I propped Ozzy up in the camouflage,
yeah,
and I put a knife through Ziggy, Ziggy the Smile, have a nice day,
yeah,
little doll, and we put the knife through him, and I put some fake blood down it, and I said, Ozzy, hold this, and he's making the faces, and so it's like up there. It's like, what sick individual? I'm sitting there with all these other press photographers, I'm like, yeah.
It's like, who would do this? I'm Mark Weiss at markweiss.com / if only you had a website back then, right? There was no websites.
Right. And Dee was there speaking his mind, and and this Stay Hungry album with the Bone, and which is it was all a lot of my doings,
Yeah.
So it was flattering.
How awesome was it though? Like when you think back now, that you got to actually hang with those guys. It wasn't just like some people get hired. You're not. When I think of you, I think of you like one of those quintessential rock photographers that actually was part of the entourage. You were friends with those guys. You traveled with those guys. You know what I mean? How awesome was that? Like looking back now, you just say, "Wow, I can't fucking believe it."
Yeah, it was good because I was in high school. It's like, I mean, I had friends here and there, but I was searching for new friends. Like I like gangs and packs of and when you're in high school, you have like 5 or 6 friends that you hang with. So when I was when I was on my own and away from all my high school friends, it's like just to be part of like a group of guys, and it would be funny because like I'd be going on the bus and it'd be the 4 of them, and then there'd be me, and people that don't know who the bands are, they think I'm in the band, because I had long hair and I looked the part.
You look like you should be in a band. Do you play anything? Have you ever wanted to be in a band? So
I did want to. I tried. I had a band called the MWB band, the Mark Weiss band.
Right. What'd you do?
Nothing
Sing?
really.
No. You were just in it? You just stood on stage?
Yeah.
What do you do? I'm Mark Weiss. What do you, nothing. I just stand on stage.
No,
it's my band.
I tried to sing. I tried to play guitar. No talent at all. I couldn't remember anything.
Well, we're talking about this. You got like this ADD thing where you got to be like, I mean, it's funny. Even for the interview today, it's like coming in last second. It's like, I'm here, and I'm like, it reminds me of me a little bit. Like,
yeah, you wouldn't believe all the things that I fit in. Now, when I have nothing, when I'm totally like not busy, like for a week or so, I wouldn't be able to do anything. I'm like, I'd have all this time to do stuff,
and nothing gets done.
And nothing gets done. Once I get some time slotted, then I have a deadline. Okay, I got to do all this before I do that, and then I hop on a plane.
And then you also probably have like 12 different things to do that'll do at the same time. It's like you bunch them up.
Right, but I'll find things to. All right, now I got to be somewhere there, so I have to do all these things. As opposed to if I didn't have that one thing that I had to do, all those things that I had to do, I wouldn't do.
Yeah, of course, because you put yourself almost like that. That's just a discipline issue. Because I have the same problem. Like if I have a day off, there's a million things I should be doing. And Alex, he's smiling. He knows, but it's like, but unless I know that okay, that's due on Friday, like I need to get that done, I'll get it done. No matter what you give me, I'll get it done. But
Right.
if there's no specific time that I have to get it done, I don't know. I'll wait until it needs to get done, and it's the last second. Do you feel like it's almost maybe there's probably some sort of chemical element that actually, there's a switch that turns on, that all of a sudden, like, like people that study it last minute also, there's this thing that like that
Right.
pressure brings out the best in you because there's a little bit
Yeah,
of.
I
Do you
don't,
feel
I
that?
don't, I don't, I don't like it.
Okay.
I mean, I wish everything was done before I even start.
But do you feel you would do it as good? I guess that's what I'm asking. Do
I
you
don't
feel there's
know.
something about that last minute
I just
danger
can't do
that
it. I just can't do it. So it's like
you need an assistant? That's what you need.
I've had assistants and I drive them all crazy all the time. I end up yelling at them or condescending to them, and
Yeah. What about a smartphone? You have a smartphone? What do you got?
I got.
BlackBerry, iPhone?
Hold on, I'm gonna show you what I got.
Oh, jeez. I have a bad feeling about this.
It's a rotary phone.
Yeah, all right, what is this? Oh, that's cool.
It's the chocolate phone.
Pretty old.
Does this have...
That was my brother's first cell phone.
What year is that?
This is
Like
I don't know.
1980
My
something?
kid, my kid gave this to me because I,
99,
Oh, my Lord. We got to update you.
I know I gotta get.
These
an
are great,
iPhone.
though. I'm telling you, the iPhone...
I'm
or-
gonna get one. Yeah, and then they have the little pictures where you can talk to people and stuff.
Yeah, the FaceTime stuff. Although you have to be on
Like the
Wi-Fi though,
Jetsons.
but they'll fix that too. But I'm saying it really helps in organizing because then like to the minute. Like I know I got to be
know.
out of here after this. I got to get across town. I got to do
yeah.
this, and this. It helps.
I like this because I can drive and feel, and I can text while
Yeah.
I'm driving.
Which we shouldn't do.
No, but if I'm not looking, I'm feeling.
I don't. It's a part of your brain. It's not so much the looking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it splits your brain. They say when you're doing one thing.
Oh,
Other than driving, I mean, listen, I'm very guilty of it. I text, I actually cook,
so bad.
make sandwiches, draw pictures, tie my shoes while I'm driving. Like
I
people hate
know.
driving. It's really bad.
I know it's terrible.
Really, really bad.
I know.
So, all right, there's a couple other things I wanted to talk to you about with as far as war stories. Is it true that you actually introduced a couple of people like Zach Wilde and Ozzy?
Yeah, I was just going to take a piss, and I'm taking a piss, and I look over my shoulder, and there's Zach playing the guitar, and I'm like, that mother didn't even ever give me one of those. He's got that whole line now.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was just funny. Yeah.
And you introduced them.
Yeah, I was with Ozzy and Sharon. They were looking for a guitar player, and we went out to Long Island to check out. I think the singer Good Rats, his son was a guitar player. So we went out there, and Ozzy's like, he's a little wasted, and he's like, "That's him. That's my new guitar player." And me and Sharon are going, "I don't know." He didn't look. So the next day, that night, I said, "Sharon, I'll keep my eyes open." So then the next day, my friend Dave Feld, I said, let's go hang out, have a drink at a bar. So we went. I said, let's go to the local bar, and he's like, no, I'm going to stay in. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go there. So if you come, we'll hang out, have a couple drinks. So I stayed home. He went, and Zach was playing with this band Zyrus. And then he called me up the next day. I said, I found a new guitar player, I think. I said, what? Come on. I said, well, Ozzy's going to be up in my studio in New York. If you really, because he was like raving. He's like, he's got to meet him. And Ozzy was leaving for England the next day. So I said, well, just come on up, and I'm doing a shoot with Ozzy anyway. So, we'll just throw him at him and see what happens.
Right.
So Zach was like, he didn't know what to believe or whatever, but he's like, all right, what do I got to lose?
Well, how did you
trip.
even start that conversation?
Well, Dave said, I have my friend Mark Weiss is Ozzy's photographer, and he's doing a shoot with Ozzy, and why don't you come up? Maybe see what happens. And Zach was like, oh yeah, you probably know Led Zeppelin too, right? So he came up, and Ozzy didn't. Ozzy that night was actually getting drunk with Andre the Giant all night. So I
you get our faces. We're just like, I mean, if I wasn't already like entranced by this story, and then he's just like throwing, it feels like you're throwing out random stuff.
Then a
Yeah,
beanstalk.
yeah. Then the beanstalk, and then Vikings came and they delivered us Chinese food, and it's like,
No, so
Fuck.
like I
That's a
said,
great
Sharon,
story.
I said, you know, when you're coming over, we gotta look at the photos and take some new ones. And she's like, oh no, we'll be there. And you know, I was waiting and waiting, and I didn't tell him that I had someone there waiting.
right.
You know,
And meanwhile, Zach is thinking like,
Zach
this
has
is
his
fucking,
guitar, he's just warming up, and I'm feeling bad, so I have everything set up for Ozzy. So I'm like, come on, Zach, let's do some pictures while we're waiting anyway. So he's posing and all that. So we're taking pictures, and you know, Sharon like at midnight said, you know, Mark, I'm sorry, we can't. Ozzy's like had it. We got to fly out tomorrow. So I said, well, I'm gonna leave. I said I had this guitar player waiting for you. You know, I wanted you to see him and check him out in person. You know, I think he's really special. You know, so she said, I said I'm gonna drop off the tape, and I did some photos. I'll drop them off at the, you know, so tomorrow when you fly off to England, you can take it with you. So she's like, all right, yeah, cool. So as soon as she landed, she called me up and said, you know, bring him in. You know, let's
wow.
have him, let's check him out.
So they flew him out.
They flew him out. I went with them, kind of helped them, you know, get the vibe going, you know. So we took a couple of trips together there, you know, because it was like it was a process. You know, we get there and there's like, you know, 20 guys waiting online, and I remember, you know, Zach did his audition, and then I had a photo shoot after, so he came with me and he was waiting, and he had a 5 o'clock flight. And Sharon told me, he goes, well, keep him there. We're thinking about, you know, keeping him another couple days. So Zach's like, you know, freaking. He's in my studio, like while I'm shooting some like Black and Blue or someone, you know. And
Tommy there.
yeah. So you know, he's just hanging out and he's like nervous and everything. I'm like, oh, don't worry, she'll call, you know. So then he said, oh yeah, keep him in for another day or two. So we check him back in the hotel, and he did another thing, and then he flew back. I mean, it was like, you know, a few weeks before he knew if he got it, whatnot. But yeah.
And did you stay in touch with him since then, or no?
Oh yeah, I mean we've been buddies ever since. Yeah.
And he acknowledged. You know, I've heard sometimes horror stories of people that kind of, you know, forget how they got to a certain place. They won't acknowledge it. Like if someone asked him, I said, "How'd you meet Ozzy?" Would he acknowledge it?
Oh yeah. Whenever he does interviews, he'll tell the same story.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
That's cool. You know what I mean? Like
Oh
sometimes.
yeah. No, he's, you know.
And also Sebastian Bach, right? To
Yeah,
Skid Row.
yeah.
And how
Sebastian.
was it? Was that it?
That was like the same time period. I mean, I used to shoot. I shot his band called Madam X, when he was like 16, 17, and I got married in '87, and I had this big rock and roll wedding. You know, everyone came. You know, the Twisted Sister guys, Kevin DuBrow, and Zach was there. Zach was already an Ozzy, and Sebastian was this young kid just with hair like, you know, 5 feet high. It was ridiculous. And
This was your wedding?
yeah, my wedding.
At your wedding, okay.
Yeah, in New Jersey. And I just told my secretary, just invite any bands that I worked with, you know, that I'm friends with, and
Wow.
you know.
What a look.
So they came. I didn't think they were gonna come. You know, they didn't have any money, so they actually drove from Detroit. You know, all 4 of them, and they all wore like, you know, it was the girls from Vixen were in the band too in Madam X.
Wait, Sebastian
and I forget which one. Both of them. Is it both of them? I don't remember.
They were in the band together? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, it was Maxine. She wasn't in Vixen, or the drummer. I don't even know, but you know, they were. I did the shoot, and then they came over. They drove over, and they just kind of like took over the party. You know, they were just spectacles.
Right.
Little Steven was there, hanging out with Little Steven.
Did they get you a gift at least?
I don't think so.
Oh man! And you got him in Skid Row. Did he ever send you a gift afterwards? Years later,
no
after
comment.
the.
We have a love-hate relationship.
No comment. Okay.
But
not even a flower basket.
I got some gold. I got some platinum albums on my wall. You know.
Okay.
You know, they you know, I got photo shoots. I did good with them. You know, I did a lot of the photo shoots, and yeah. So then I actually, at the end of the wedding, the wedding band kind of left, and they just took over. So it was the Twisted guys, Sebastian, Zach, Kevin DuBrow doing like, you know, Bang Your Head and Zeppelin. Right. So they played for like an hour. Like Zach's playing with his teeth.
Do you have footage of that?
Yes, I do.
Has anyone ever seen it?
No, I gotta promote something and do something.
Right.
You know, but I have an hour.
You gotta do something. You must have tons of shit like that, right? Like pictures and video and stuff.
Oh yeah.
You ever think about? I mean, what you're gonna do with? I know you got to do something eventually, but you ever think about how you would package that?
I don't know yet. I just,
have to,
I'm
though.
still working, and like I always say, when I slow down, give me something to do,
Right.
But
More
I know,
retrospect.
I always think I miss my time or whatever. But it seems like the longer I wait, there's, because like the Osbournes were so popular when the MTV show came out, so I should have done an Ozzy book, but I didn't, But Ozzy's more popular now, so it's like,
It's
I,
no, yeah. Is there
I
ever a
just
right
don't.
time? That's the problem.
Yeah, and now like books are like it's a dying breed, So now people aren't even doing books anymore. But it's a collection of photographs that I will, and like Slipper When Wet is the 25th anniversary coming up, and I was the tour photographer, so it's like 9 months away. I can't wait a month before it happens. I
Right.
gotta
You
start.
gotta do something.
So that's 9 months away. So that's something I gotta reach out to John with and seeing, get his blessings on it and all that.
If you want, I'll come over and watch everything for you and tell you, what to do. And,
You know,
yeah,
you don't have time.
I'll make time. I'll make time to watch this. Though you crazy? I'll make time. I could be your agent. We'll do 60-40.
Write me into your show.
All right. Okay. When I get my show back, I will.
Okay.
Why? How come that never happened? Didn't we never? How come that never even happened? I mean, did we ever even? Because I had no part in that. You know that, right? That had nothing to do with us. That was casting and management and all that. The producers got to pay. I mean, we put in our suggestions, but did they ever talk to you, or did you ever
Not
ask
really.
them about it or anything?
No.
We should have. We definitely should have. Well, we will. We'll get it back.
Yeah.
We'll get it back, and then you could be the resident photographer on set.
Wow.
Oh, see, that will be your climate, your peak in your career. It's like I did Ozzy, I did Bon Jovi, but then I got to shoot ZO2.
Yeah.
So now you're on the bus. Everyone thinks you're in the band and everything. You're young. You're making money. You're hanging out with the rock stars. How was the groupies? Was that like crazy, like you lived it up, or was it like I've been having some bad luck with my groupie stories because all my guests say the same thing. Well, I was in a relationship most of that time, or I was really not into that kind of stuff. I was kind of, conservative. And I'm like, come on, somebody give me some good groupie stories.
Well, I was like, I'm like almost the most accessible, because I'm right in the front there before the photo pit, and it's like the girls can't just go up to the band, so they would kind of go through me, and I would so the bands would like give me some passes and, give them out to some hot girls and whatnot. So I would be kind of like, the liaison, between the girls and the band.
So what did they have to do to get backstage?
I don't know. I wasn't one of those kind of guys.
You weren't?
No, come on. I'm too good looking.
All right, well then, come on. So, were you dating any models, any hot chick? I mean, what? Give us something juicy. Anything.
Well,
good.
I took a lot of. I did, introduce the bands to a lot of these girls, and there's definitely some pictures. There's actually a photo in Nikki Sixx's book. It's probably the nastiest one in there, and they had the black bar it a little bit, but I just take my camera with me and I introduce them to the girls, and sometimes when you take pictures with girls, it makes them very it makes them want to take their clothes off or something, with the band there, and it's only a photo, and next thing you know, you're taking it for the photo,
right?
And the girls are there and the guys are there, and then I would leave, like, all right,
right,
I gotta
right.
get some more film, and then
right.
So
Right. All right. Well, you know what? We got to start hanging out a little bit more. Do some photo shoots.
Well, that was the 80s, though.
Oh, I know. Don't remind me.
It's dangerous.
God, is there any way I can go back in time now, right? I can't go back.
It's dangerous now.
I know,
can't.
it's
You
not
got to
the
be
same.
faithful, or you might die.
It's not the same. And you know what it is? Well, I was faithful, but now I don't have to be. But you know what it is, too? It's like even the mentality is different. Like even the girls that do go to shows and stuff like that, they don't have the same pizzazz like they had. The 80s, it was something special. Like you got dressed up, girls looked hot. They were into the lifestyle.
Yeah.
It was different.
Well, I think once the AIDS, once that happened, I think
Yeah.
people smartened up a little bit. They
Yeah.
had to. I mean, I always thought that, all right, there's going to be like in the '90s, like all the '80s bands are going to start dropping like flies. Just because they used it. I would I would see all the same girls at all the
Yeah.
shows with all the bands.
Right. No one was thinking about that.
Yeah, so I would, I was just like waiting for something to happen,
That's yeah.
Well, thank God it didn't. I mean, the only one that died of AIDS in the rocker world was Robin Crosby, but that was because of drugs.
No. What about what's that guy's name?
Ray Gillen?
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah. AIDS.
Yeah.
And you know what's? I mean.
That's
sad.
right. That's
yeah,
right.
You know
He was
that
being
story,
sued
right?
and stuff. Or...
Well, Ray Gillen knew he had AIDS, and he was still going. He was still having sex with people, unprotected, like he was giving it. To
how do we
people.
know for sure that happened?
I don't know. I can't say.
Can't imagine anyone
I can't
could
say
do
for
that.
sure, but I've heard that
I know.
multiple accounts. Like again, it's what I've heard.
Yeah, I know.
Whether there's any truth or not, who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sucks.
So I mean, if you hear anything about me,
I won't say
in a
anything.
tutu dancing around, that doesn't mean it's true. I mean, it could be true.
Unless I verify it.
Right, unless Alex verifies it.
Or there's pictures.
Well, you have. I saw some. You showed me some pretty awesome pictures of like rock stars with naked chicks. What was that? That was a whole series you did, right?
Yeah, back in the early '80s, I had access to the bands, and I wanted to get more access. So I figured out what's a good way to like really get in good with the bands, but get them publicity and shoot them with naked girls. Well, half naked, just boobs,
Yeah, but it's enough. They look like they're having a good time in those pictures.
Yeah, so we shot like just in a concept and some sort of like environment, and we just kind of just had some fun with it. So there was Ozzy in the church with the pool table, and Joe Perry, and there was Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
and,
that's great. Some
Rick
great
James.
Has anyone seen these pictures? Those are the ones that were printed, all of them, or just some?
Yeah. No, these are all printed.
Okay, so this is public knowledge. All right.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
I mean, not too many people know about it, but
well,
Motley Crue was Motley Crue's first spread in a national magazine.
No pun intended. You gotta laugh.
Which
it's a
reminds
joke,
me,
Mark. It's a joke. You gotta laugh. Which reminds you what?
Actually, Motley Crue, when we did that shoot, it was we did it out in L.A. and there was this Molly agency called Jim South Molly Agency. We used to pick the girls, used to go in a room and used to show them to the bands, and they used to pick the girls that they wanted for the shoot. And then after the shoot, we actually used to go. We hung out at the Rainbow.
Oh, love the Rainbow.
Yeah,
I love the Rainbow.
They were eggplant parmesan. That's what I always get.
Have you had the chicken soup? It's the most.
Oh yeah, the chicken soup.
God. Chicken soup. I've done a whole review on this, because of my podcast.
Oh.
I'll tell you exactly what to order, and what not to order. The filet mignon, medium rare, amazing.
What's not? Don't you order?
Hold on. Let me pull out my iPhone. You really want to know?
I'm curious. I want to tell you if I agree or not.
Okay, I'll tell you right now. This is just my choice, my taste. It could be different. But this is what I would say. There's more. Most of it is to order. Everything is fucking great here. But, okay. I ordered the porterhouse. It was okay.
Oh, right.
The porterhouse. The filet mignon, though, is outrageous. Like one of my favorite fillets so far that I've ever had. But for some reason, the porterhouse, not as great.
Right.
Okay. Not bad. The broiled chicken, I didn't love.
Right.
It should have been, I thought, more juicy, and it wasn't. It was a little on the dry side. The steamed spinach, I love spinach, but for some reason the steamed spinach was just kind of bland. It didn't have like that. Maybe not enough garlic.
You need a little butter or something.
Garlic, butter, oil, something. But it
Right.
had a little bit too much of that like real vegetable-y, like kind of watery.
Did you just try it once, or maybe they had a bad day, or?
That's the thing. I never know, but I don't. Listen, if
you
it
don't
was,
want to go back, you don't want to. Try
I would try it
twice.
again. Well, not if I'm paying for it. If
Right.
Alex pays for it, yeah. I'll try anything twice.
Okay.
But and one day, you never know. This could parlay into a whole nother career move for me of like being a rock food critic, and I'll do that. But if I'm going to order, the reason I started writing this stuff down is because I got to the point where I would go. Let's say I would go to Rainbow once a year. I'd like to get out to LA more, but usually I average at least once, twice a year. Right? I go to the Rainbow. I don't remember when I order, and I'm like, fuck, like what? Was it good or was it not good? You ever go to a restaurant you don't remember? You've been there a while ago, and
I can't even want to go to Burger King.
yeah, you don't even remember what you like.
Yeah.
So I got sick of it because I would order something and I was like, oh fuck, I forgot. I don't
So you
like
write it down.
I write it down. So now I never order something that I didn't like the last time.
Right.
Doesn't mean that it could have been maybe that one time. This time it could be
Right.
good.
So if one of your friends
But-
order it, you might have a taste, and then you scratch it off the list if
yeah,
you like it.
I could put it back on the. But the thing is, now it's getting to the point where people ask me, And they're like, Paul, what should I order? And it's great because now I'll say,
Yeah.
okay, here's my suggestions. And we just went to this place called 99. Yes, what's today? Monday? No, today's Tuesday. On Sunday, sorry, discombobulated. I went mountain hiking. I never hiked before, and I hiked this mountain for the first time, which was like insane.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It was like 3,200 feet, and I just ran up the fucking mountain.
Really? Were you trying to impress a girl or something?
No,
No?
not at all. Had nothing to do with it. It's just a friend of mine and his son, and he invited me, and I was
wow.
just like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna do it. It's like something I would not do, and it was just different. And I was like, let me see if I could do it. I'm gonna do it. Just not that, and I did, and I loved it. It was amazing. Anyway, we went to eat afterwards, and it was a chain place in New England called 99. I really recommend it. Really good food, great prices. It's kind of like, I'd say like Outback Steakhouse, maybe one step below. More like at that Bob Evans kind of Pizzeria Uno level. And the guys were like, and I told them about this. They goes, really? And they said, okay, what should we order? Don't we order? And some of the things I said don't order, the kid, he ordered it anyway. He goes, well, I just like, I said biscuits were dry. I said, don't get the French fry. He goes, I'll order anyway. He got it, and of course, he was like, yeah, you're right. He said, I shouldn't have got it. I said, I told you. There's a reason that I wrote this down. Here are the other two, there were like two other things. The tortellini, which is weird because their pasta at the Rainbow is great. The ravioli. Have you had the ravioli?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Amazing. But the tortellini and the ravioli marinara. The marinara sauce, to me, not so good. But the ravioli Alfredo is outrageous. Like sex on a plate. But the marinara is not. So if you're going to get ravioli and you're in the mood, I mean, to me, it's a big difference. It is a super big difference between the two. So why would you take a chance if I'm telling you
Yeah.
from experience?
That's true.
Not to
I
get
mean,
this.
I always liked,
What do you like? I'll tell you if it's on my good list. Go ahead.
No, I always liked, the cafeteria food at lunch in high school.
Oh, okay. Well, I did too, though. That doesn't mean I like junk. Doesn't mean I'm like fine, like I'm picky about it. But aren't there things that you don't like?
I
when you
just
go to
forget after I eat them.
Well, you gotta write it down.
Oh, that's true. I got to get the iPhone.
Get the iPhone and write it down. You can listen.
I know.
You can do everything with this except make a phone call. It's amazing. Although, actually, I got to say, it's better now. I got the case, and it works great. All right, tell me. I'm going to go down the list. You're going to tell me if you ever had this, all right? Filet mignon at the Rainbow?
I don't remember.
All right, but never mind. This game ain't going to work. Well, can you tell me at least, do you remember some places, if not specific dishes? Let's get into the food talk for a second. Do you remember places that you really, like, could you tell me a place or two that you love to eat at? Like
There's a good place in L.A. called Swingers. It's
Okay.
like a very 50s style coffee shop in Santa Monica, and like all the girls there, they have tats, and it's like kind of very 50s, and everyone's really nice there, and they have some good eats.
Anything particular or not? You don't remember?
They have this tofu dish, which I forget what it is, some tofu scrambler or something that was really good. It was a little different, So yeah, that was a good one.
So is that a place like, I mean, you've toured. I mean, you've been all over the place. I mean, is that a place like I like to try to find out like places that people are like, oh, I'm going to be in so and so state. Like, I can't wait because I want to go to that place. Is there a place like that anywhere in the country? That you just like, if you know you're going to be in town, like your mouth is watering for you, craving it. It's like, oh, I haven't been there so long. Or not really. Do you just kind of like whatever?
I kind of go with the flow.
Whatever.
I like the buffets.
You like buffet? Okay, well there
Yeah.
you go. We're getting somewhere.
Yeah,
You like the buffet?
I like to just have a little, like whenever
Dim sum?
whenever I'm on tour, it's like I always like to have a little taste of each thing, and then I go back for the kill after that.
The ones that you like.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, my problem is I have a big taste of each thing, and then I go back for a kill 3 more times. Yeah. You've seen me and Dave eat, right? Or no?
I don't know.
No? Oh, okay. You don't know. Yeah, we're pretty bad. We're terrible. So you're not a foodie then. It doesn't seem like.
No,
Not really. You eat to survive.
I eat because I do like food.
Right, but you're not like passionate. Doesn't seem like you're like
Right.
passionate. about
Right.
it.
I like to eat. I kind of eat more when I'm bored.
Right. Right.
It keeps me going. It's like there's a shoot or something, and like at video shoots, I used to put on 5 pounds at one day, because it's there, the craft service. Anytime there's crafts,
Terrible.
But then the next few days, then I won't eat for a few days, and then I'll lose the 5 pounds.
Well, what's your favorite thing to eat at least? Like maybe not restaurant, but what do you like? A pizza guy, American food, Chinese food. Like what's your If you were locked up somewhere for a week and you had to eat one kind of food.
I don't have any.
Really?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to you.
No, I'm
Wow.
very easy.
Interesting.
I'm
You're
I'm
pretty
easy to please.
You are. I have to say, ever since I met you, very, very like very mellow and kind of like not typical as far as Jersey. I got to be honest with you. You seem to me, if someone asked me, I would have thought you were born and raised in L.A. You have a much more
A
LA
lot of people
vibe.
think I'm from LA.
Yeah, you're an LA vibe. Like, you know, you're a Jersey guy trapped in an LA body. You know, or an LA guy trapped in a Jersey body. That's actually more accurate. Because you're very laid back. You're just kind of like, yeah, whatever, dude. You know, and Jersey is a lot more like, yo, in my fucking porterhouse with steak and potato. You know, it's like New York tri-state area is very kind of like, that's weird. Have you always been like that, or you think it's something that kind of, like, do you notice that maybe you changed?
No, I was like, you know, when I was growing up, I wouldn't even talk to anybody. You know?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. This is, I'm just getting out of my shell now.
Well, for me, right? Of course.
Yeah. Right. But no, it's like, you know, once I got my photography, you know, once I started getting like recognized as far as like, you know, Mark, you know, that you took that picture, you took that, and then next thing you know, Steven Tyler's like, you know, praising my photos, and Ozzy and all these bands that I look up to are, you know, having conversations with me about photo shoots and album covers, and you know, I felt like, you know, I felt something that I have to offer. So I kind of came out of my shell and kind of got a little more, you know, outgoing and whatnot.
That's got to help. Yeah. That's kind of what I was asking before. Like, at what point did you feel like, you know, it was just like, oh, okay, you know, I have some clout, you know, I don't have to be nervous around these people, whatever.
Yeah,
you know, so.
I would say once they started getting published in the magazines, and then they came to me because they wanted to get in the magazines. So when Poison first came out, you know, they weren't even just barely a band, you know. So because I can get them, you know, full page in the magazine or centerfold or poster, you know, they want me to, you know, so we'd hang and we, you know, and then they'd look at them and we, you know, I'd get them approved, and next thing you know, we're hanging out, being buddies, and, you know, traveling on the buses with them and the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I think of those like quintessential rock photographer types, like stories, like, but like the mythic ones, that I think of you. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's not just, it goes beyond this photo shoot. It's like, it's the photo shoot, and then you become part of the band, like, almost, you know, you get into that world. It's like, you know.
Yeah, so I mean, here we are. I am 30 years later, and it's like I'm still shooting like new bands. You know, like, it's the one thing I can't stand is like bands think that I'm not approachable because I did all these big iconic album covers and photo shoots and things, and they don't even approach me because they think I'm going to charge too much or this and that. So I like recently like started advertising, saying, no, if you're a local band, just reach out to me and let's see what we can do. So I've been like throwing together some really good packages for bands, and of course, if something big comes up, I have to explain to them, like, you know, if, you know, I have to go on the road with, you know, Aerosmith or Guns N' Roses or whatever, then we'll juggle around the deal, you know. But meanwhile, so many bands just like they have their brother shoot them, or they shoot the band shots with the flip phone or whatever, and it's just like ridiculous. You see the pictures, and image is still really important.
But you know what it is, though, and you know, and this is coming from being a band that's, you know, in it now. There is something I notice it with, even with recording. There's a mental shift that's been happening over the last maybe 10, probably more in the last 10 years, I would say. But the concept of like, oh, I can record my own record. I don't need to go to a studio. I don't need to produce. I can do my own music video I don't need a real guy. I can take my own picture with my iPhone. It's HD. Why do I need a reel for that? And there's this mentality that's happening that people like, I can do it on my own. Everyone could be their own everything. I think that's the new mentality.
Right.
And I think what's going to happen, and I don't know how long it's going to take, but I think that'll level off eventually to the point where, okay, now everyone's a superstar now. Okay, at some point now the cream has to rise to the top again, where it's like everyone can have a video or a photo shoot, but the photo shoot that you're going to take is obviously going to stand out, and people will then start realizing again, and it's going to go backwards. You'll see.
Yeah.
You know, I just hope it goes sooner than later so that I can capitalize off of that, and then be like, the quality will eventually, the bar will go up again. But it seems like the bar is just so low. Like, why would anyone want to? No offense, but why would someone want to pay a photographer to come in, to do something that they think they can do, because the bar, it doesn't. Who cares if the picture is lit great? Do the people even know the difference? It's just like music. Do the people know the difference now? Do they even care that the sound quality is good or bad? You know how much money we spent, on those first few records, and then I listen to stuff that's on the radio, and I'm like, really? Really? People are okay with this sound? But they are.
All right.
They are. They just, it's like that they just get desensitized. They're just like, oh, that's a cool picture. I was like, no, it's not. It's not a good picture. It's not a good picture.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some before shots. Like I always like now I I check out the bands and I say, send me what you think your best shot is, and they send it to me. I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
I don't even want to work with them, but I'm like, you know what? It's a challenge. I'll work with it, and so many times like I just made them, believers, and it's worth them.
You have to educate them,
yeah,
right? They
you
don't
do.
know the difference, but they don't
Yeah.
know the difference. That's the problem. I
But
just don't
you
think
look at
they
the
know.
picture and you can, do I really look? Is there a vibe? Is it cool? Is it, I mean, a lot of bands probably have the talent, but they're not stepping it up because they're not getting everything just right, like
Yeah.
you said.
Well, I think we have the same problem. I was trying to be objective on my own, but I think there's certain things that we have and the things that we're not firing. There's certain cylinders that aren't firing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the trick. It's like you need to fire in all those cylinders to really, or get lucky. Obviously, you get like some cool YouTube video and then you could get lucky that way. But, but in order to last, I think you need the quality control. I think that bar has to be up. So as long as you're out there, that's a good thing.
I
For
definitely want
production.
your listeners to know that, like, if there is a band out there, you go to my website, just markweiss.com and
Spell it so for the goyim that don't know
it's
how to
just
spell art.
MARKWEISS.
All right, yeah,
It's easy, And if you want to email me, it's mark@markweiss.com, and you'd be surprised, and
hey, we came up to you, right? We have no
Right.
shame. We're just like, hey, we know you're a
Yeah.
big famous photographer, but can you shoot us for nothing?
yeah. We had a limited budget on that, but
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
like
we
there's
did what we
5 guys
could.
in the band. It's sometimes I'll do it as low as a couple $100 each guy, or $100 depending on what I do.
Right.
It adds up, and instead of like getting your brother to do it for $50,
Yeah, and you're still in it. You're working. You're getting the newer bands. It
Yeah.
keeps you in it. Listen, for all the listeners out there, don't be afraid to approach him. Okay, Mark Weiss. It's like a hot girl. Everyone's afraid to approach her.
That's
But
a
if
good
you
analogy.
you're like a fucking hot chick.
Wow.
See, but I am not afraid. I'll go up to the hottest chick and I'll be like,
Right.
"You want to?"
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
I said, "You want to go out for
it's
coffee?"
confidence. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't be afraid. All right. And real quick, before I'm running out of time, but I wanted to mention real quick, you had revived a very awesome magazine, and now it's called Rock Scene, right?
Yeah.
You
it was-
revived it. Can you tell everybody what your plan is with this?
Well, it was a magazine when I was like in one of my first spreads in the late '70s, and I just worked for them a short time. It was called Rock Scene. It's just a really cool logo, and they had like Blondie, Kiss, the Ramones, like all New Yorky kind of bands, and it never really made it like a Rolling Stone or Circus, but it was a national, and it was just a lot of behind the stuff footage and our photos, and I was a part of it for a little bit, and then then they kind of like '81 when the music started changing, they kind of like changed with it, so with their integrity, they kind of like just stopped what they were doing, and 20-something years later, I picked the name up, got the trademark, and what I'm doing now is I'm kind of carrying what their original, their what they were going for.
Their mission statement.
Yeah, their mission statement, and I'm trying to almost trying to educate the new kids today and what it was like, and what's lacking today. So what basically. I ask rock stars and fans and people in the music business, and I just ask them, tell me about your rock scene. Like, tell me about, like, when you first started, what was your first record you picked up? Tell me about some venues you went to, because a lot of these venues aren't around anymore. Tell me what it was like back then. So, it's basically putting all this information, and it's in a time capsule. It's nothing newsy. It's just very, about what their whole scene was. I mean, I interviewed Gary U.S. Bonds, what his rock scene was like, and it's all,
Who else did you interview?
I interviewed this guy named Paulie Z and asked him what his rock scene was like.
Oh, so you went after real big rock stars.
Well, actually, I go with the big ones too, yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
like Paulie.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting stuff. And I always ask them what they think the future is and what it's like now. And most of them are disgusted with the scene, and they always have hope. And
Terrible.
I heard Ann Wilson and Nancy Wilson talk about it, and something about classic rock, and they're almost like they're like kind of like dinosaurs, but they're kind of like the grandfathers of everything. And I think like they're still around. I mean, classic rock radio in the States is like huge,
Yeah.
So
But you know what it's going to be like to me? It seems like it's almost going to be like when you think of Beethoven and Mozart. Think about that for a second. You don't have people like that anymore. But Mozart will always be Mozart. It's legendary. Those guys will become stuff of legends that like 50 years, 100 years from now, people will look back.
Right.
They'll think of those bands the way we think of those guys. But will you be able to do that continually? That's the question. That's what people like me and young bands have to wrestle with. It's like, will there be an avenue for us to be able to continue that? Or does it just turn into something, just electronic music, 20 years from now?
Right.
There's no such thing as a guitar. Everyone's
Right.
just like, computerized.
Well, that's just it. I'm just trying to share everyone's what it was like to be involved in rock, and that right now hip hop people, they call themselves rock stars.
Well, they kind of took the.
Right, but they're not. I mean, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they have LL Cool J.
Yeah.
So it's like something's wrong with this picture, and I'm just trying to be a little bit of a part of the picture, part of it. I'm not saying I'm going to change it, but educate people, and just hopefully
shine a light on
enough
it.
people will, hear these interviews and just go, well, they're really. You're right.
Yeah.
And maybe bring it back a little bit. Who knows?
Well, if it makes you feel any better, you're gonna have at least a dozen people listening to this interview. That will change.
That's a dozen more possible rock and rollers.
Why am I so hard on myself? We have a lot of listeners actually. Yeah, but I like underrating. Being the underrated. I don't even know what I'm saying. All right, I'm going on to the Wise Guy Gallery. I'm gonna plug this now. This is your website or an actual gallery?
Well, it's a website gallery. It's just something that I started about a year and a half ago, and basically I'm just pulling images from the 70s and early 80s, like my iconic photos and just kind of marketing them and getting them out there so people can purchase them and hang them up, and I sign them.
Lithographs or?
Well, they're just
prints.
They're prints,
okay,
and framed and whatnot, and anywhere from Led Zeppelin from the 70s to Peter Frampton, Allman Brothers, and then into Motley Crue and all those bands too. So.
And the new bands. Look, I'm looking on this thing: Justin Timberlake, Gwen Stefani, Christina Aguilera.
Well, that's not part of the gallery.
Oh, okay.
That's just.
Wait, edit that out, Alex. Edit that whole part out.
That's just showing what I did.
But all right, so it is weissguygallery.com. So it's WEISSGUY gallery.com, and you're gonna have all these classic. Pictures on there.
Yeah, you can check them out, and you can good little presents and put them on your wall. And
CO2 is on there, right? In there.
I think we cut it in the.
Oh,
it's
we didn't make the final edit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, Mark. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
All the way from Jersey.
Yeah.
Jersey, and showing us some awesome I mean, you guys really should. It's hard to. I can't even imagine just listening to this podcast if I was a listener and not seeing the images. You gotta see the stuff. It is fucking unreal. I mean, at least this was like, how they say like certain albums are the soundtrack to someone's, upbringing. Like your pictures are like the gallery to my.
Well, I always say my little tagline is like, see what you've been hearing.
Yeah, it's incredible because it really, especially with rock music, the imagery always went along with it. It's like I don't need to see what Beethoven looks like to enjoy it, but when you think about Ozzy and you think about Zeppelin, the image,
visual.
Yeah, the visual has so much to do with it. So you were such a big part of that, and I hope I hope you really are proud of what you've done because it's great. It's really great.
Thank you.
You're one of the greats, man.
Thanks.
I'm happy to know you. And
let's go on tour, man.
Yeah,
let's
hell yeah. And listen, I'm gonna. And speaking of free photo shoots, let's set some up for us.
I didn't say free.
Whoa, wait, hold on. Let's rewind the tape. All right. Well, I'll edit it in so that it's like so that you did. Anyway, Mark, thank you so much. Let me do my quick finishing touches here. The podcast is available on iTunes, and you can go to thePaulieZshow.com. And if you want to email me your hate mail or anything like that, it's yopaulie@thePaulieZshow.com. And my Twitter is twitter.com/ZO2Paulie. And of course, the band website is ZO2.com. All right. So, Mark, thank you so much again for being here and the busy schedule.
You're welcome.
And everybody go get yourself a print. I'm sure I'll be getting one for my birthday, right? You sent it? Nice. All right, so that's it. A great episode, and we got 2 more to the Big 5-0. So I hope you guys stick with us and join us, and we'll be rocking out. All right, later.